We're foaming at the mouth about last night's All-Star Game MVP, Robinson Cano. Robbie Cano hit the game-winning home run in last night's All-Star Game. And Moose, I couldn't help but think, what would have happened if he had accepted the Yankees' 7-year, $175 million offer instead of spurning them and going to Seattle for 10 years and $240 million? I love Cano as a Yank. He's one of the best second basemen, I think, in baseball over the last 20 years. He is a cornerstone kind of player, a building block. Him and Jeter next to each other. You couldn't get any more solid up the middle. And as Cano has shown in Seattle since day one, this guy could flat out hit.
Right, he's a great player. They just weren't going to give him a 10-year, $240 million contract, and he probably has Alex Rodriguez to thank for that. They were not going to go out there and pay him into his, late 30s and really 40 years of age. I mean, this is year 4. He's still got 6 years to go with the Seattle Mariners. Largely irrelevant. I'm not doubting the talent, and I don't knock him for going out there and taking the money, nor do I knock the Yankees, John, for only offering him 7 years, $175 million. Now, the one thing you do knock the Yankees that offseason is they went out there and paid Jacoby Ellsbury. That deal makes absolutely no sense. Right. And if I were Robbie Cano and I get offered the same contract as Jacoby Ellsbury, that is insulting. Put that argument aside. Really, the reason why the Yankees did not want to go out there and give him a 10-year contract is because they got burned by Alex Rodriguez. Yeah, that's the reason.
But 7-175 isn't chump change by any sense. I thought that was a very good offer that the Yankees did give Cano, but who's going to take that when you've got 10 years and $240 million on
Nobody.
Exactly. Nobody. And that's why he's in Seattle, but hasn't won a lot in Seattle. He's had some good years, got injured one year, hit, 36 home runs even as recently as last year. Yeah. And looked great last night when he took Davis deep in that exciting All-Star game, putting the American League over the National League 2-1.
Yeah, and this idea, listen, there are people that buy into the Yankee mystique, the Yankee lore, or buy into the history of the Yankees, and there's no doubt that Robbie Cano, if his career continues along the way it is right now, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, you look at his averages or what he has done at the second base spot, over 1,100 RBIs, 295 home runs. He's got over a 300 average. I mean, there are things to love about Robbie Cano. Look at the career hits, 2246. He's going to have 3,000 career hits when his career is all said and done. And all that being said, I don't know if he goes in as a Yankee. I don't know if he goes in as a Mariner. That'll be decided. I think his best days will probably be in a Yankee uniform as compared to the Seattle Mariner, but there's no doubt about it. A Hall of Famer left the Bronx and went to the great Northwest where he took that $240 million deal.
I think we got to see how the rest of his career plays out. One injury, and then I don't know if he's necessarily in the Hall of Fame. But right now, he definitely has the numbers. And it kills me because I always see him in pinstripes. Even when I see him out in Seattle, he's number 24 on the Yanks. And I do think the Yanks, although they made the right move fiscally, I think they let one get away in Cano. He's one of those lifetime Yankees, one of those guys that I always thought would be there, and somehow they'd work out that deal. But when he left, it wasn't such a nice parting either. Now it seems like fences were mended, but back then, he was insulted by what the Yankees.
But time heals all wounds, right? And maybe one day, when he's a Hall of Famer, they'll retire his number, and they'll have a day for Robbie Cano. And I think he will have his day in Cooperstown, New York. Even with all that, where would the Yankees have been differently the past number of years if Robinson Cano was part of this team, right? Would they have all of a sudden had a significant upgrade last year? Would it have been you look at it, first 2 years up in Seattle, Robinson Cano wasn't going out there hitting 30-plus home runs. Now, that's Seattle as compared to New York. Had to get over a couple of injuries. One stadium, comparatively speaking, to another, and the Yankee Stadium is more of a hitters-friendly ballpark. I don't know if it would have really amounted to all that much of a difference last 4 years when you look at the overarching issues of this Yankee team. He could not have made up for the age catching up with A-Rod. He could not have made up for the injuries with Marc Teixeira. Really, the down performance when you look at some starting pitchers like CC Sabathia at the time. I think it was time for Robbie Cano to go out there and get paid, and I give him all the credit. He got paid, and Seattle gave him $240 million.
He did, but he's one of those guys who I saw as a lifetime Yankee, and it's not so easy to excel in the Bronx, and he did it for a number of years, and I thought maybe they would keep him long-term. But as you said, they
sold him, and he said, you know what, it doesn't interest me. The history doesn't interest me. I want to get paid. Would you take $240 million, or would you have taken the $175?
I'd be in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.